Okay, so one of the things that Bob was talking about that he does a lot is he listens. He listens to somebody else, and part of the way he was actually influenced and led to Christ is because two Christians took a brief amount of time, well, 90 minutes, and listened to him. And what ended up happening, he ended up deciding, you know what, they just spent an hour and a half listening to me. I can at least give them a little bit of time to share what they have to say. Now, when I teach apologetics, I have all my students go out and share with somebody of another religion or an atheist or an evolutionist. They interview them, and they spend a half an hour listening to this person tell them about what they believe. And then they say, would you mind if we share with you what we believe? And I have found this to be one of the most powerful methods of reaching the closed-minded. Take some time to listen. I really can't overemphasize that. If in your life you have somebody who is closed-minded and you want to reach them, if you have a neighbor, you have a relative, you have a friend who is turned off to the gospel, ask them questions. Listen to them. And eventually, they are going to want to give you an audience. Maybe it's out of guilt, whatever the case, but eventually they're going to want to give you an audience and give you the opportunity to share what you have to say. And not too long ago, I invited an atheist to come to my class, and he's an evolutionist, atheist, and he came to 3 of my classes, and he shared about evolution. Now, I had spent the past 5 weeks teaching my kids about what he was going to say, and because it's very typical, and as Bob said, many people don't even know what they mean. And so when he came to the class, many of my students were asking him questions that he couldn't answer, and he was a little frustrated. At the end of one class, I said, hey, this is going fantastic. Thanks so much for being here. A kid had just drilled him on where he gets his morals from. And you could tell it had really impacted him because the kid said, so where do you get your morals from being an evolutionist? Do you get them from evolution? And he said, oh, don't get them from evolution. Boy, you'd have horrible morals. I mean, survival of the fittest. Now I'm sitting there going, well, what are you saying? Okay, and I'm thinking, this guy does not know what he's saying right now because he is losing to my junior student in this discussion. And at the end of it, I said, so hey, this is going fantastic. I was so excited. And I said, is there anything we could do better? And he said, I'll tell you what I can do better. I got to figure out where to get my morals from. so it was awesome. Now, by the end of the time, the third time he had shared, I was just super, super pumped. I was like, this guy's going to get saved. And I said to him, hey, you know, I've let you speak 3 times now to 3 different classes. When are you going to let me share with all your atheist friends? And he stepped back and he was like, oh, that's a good point. Huh. And so about a month or so ago, I got to share with 30 atheists on Christianity and creation. There I am, it's like Daniel in the lion's den, and got in there and got to share with them, got to talk with them. And at the end of this presentation I gave, they applauded me, said, thank you so much for coming out. I had one atheist girl come up and say, I'd like to take one of your classes. Another guy said, I'm going to go out to the Creation Museum and be more open-minded. And another guy said, could you become an atheist and present for us? And I said, well, I want to go to heaven, so probably not. So here's the thing. What happened was I let him share. I said, hey, I'm open-minded. Is God up in heaven thinking, please don't prove I'm not real. Please, I'm scared. Don't talk to that guy. He might prove I'm not real. No, God is not afraid. Take the time to listen. Take the time to talk. And that person is going to reciprocate, okay? And I'm going to give you a couple arguments, pretty powerful arguments for God, for the evidence that God exists, and for the evidence that the Bible is true. Now, I had a guy ask me a question a while back. He said, what should I do to start this process of reaching out to my friends and stuff? I said, Master one argument, okay? Get one solid argument down for the existence of God. One that is practically irrefutable. That is going to go real far. You don't have to know everything there is to know about apologetics. Get one argument that you like and begin to get good at sharing it. You will plant incredible seeds in people's hearts. I'll give you one more example of a time this worked for me. This was in college. I did not know a lot about apologetics. I knew one thing, okay, and that was the second law of thermodynamics. This is a very, very powerful argument. As much as evolutionists try to shove it away and say, oh, it's because we're in a closed system and blah, blah, blah. This is a very powerful argument. I was in college and I was in a physics class, and I had a friend sitting next to me who I knew from high school. And this fellow, he was not a Christian. And I would talk to him all the time, and his name was Bobby. And I said, Bobby, hey, you need to come to church with me. And he goes, no, I'm not going to church with you. That is dumb. That stuff is dumb. I said, come on, man. At least listen, check it out. No way. I'm not even going to church. One day, he offered me $20. I was like, dude, $20 to come to church with me. I don't know if that's a sin or not, but anyway, I wanted to. He said no. He still said no. I was like, man, this guy he's not even money, nothing. Okay, so anyway, one day we're in physics class, and the teacher starts talking about the second law of thermodynamics. I pointed at the teacher. I said, listen to this. This proves evolution wrong. And he listened, and he didn't say anything. And I was like, I wonder what he's done. He didn't make no facial expression, nothing. Anyway, the semester ended. Bobby went his way, I went my way, and I didn't see him again. Now, 3 years later, I was sitting in a coffee shop with my fiance, who is today my wife, and in comes this guy with a shaved head, tattoos like all up and down his arms, and he runs like straight towards me. I'm thinking, who is this guy, right? And he points at me and he goes, Kevin! And I go, yeah! And I'm just thinking, uh-oh, what's going on here? And he goes, I've been praying that God would let me see you again. He goes, it's Bobby from physics class. And I'm thinking, what happened, dude? And he goes, I got saved. I don't know what that had to do with the tattoos, but anyway, he goes, I got saved, and what you said in that physics class is a big part of why I got saved. Planting seeds is what it's all about. Get one solid argument, use it, and start dropping seeds, because it's going to have an impact, I promise you. God's Holy Spirit will honor your faithfulness to reach out and begin a dialogue. Now, this is my ministry. I teach apologetics not only in Christian High, but also outside of the school on the weekends. If you know any kids that would like to strengthen their faith, I teach a 20-hour class on creation evolution. By the time they're done with that class, they can't deny God's real even if they want to. They're like, oh, he's real, man. He's real, man. Don't even try. Okay, so it's it's an excellent class. I teach a bunch of different classes. This is the one, created on purpose or evolved by chance, scientific proof for God and creation. This one starts in September this semester, and this is in East County. It's $200. There's scholarships and payment plans if somebody needs it. I also am teaching a second class in Claremont called Separation from Church and State, God, Government, Homosexuality, and Abortion. And this one is to help students give a good defense for the biblical positions on things like homosexuality. How do we deal with the Mount Soledad cross as Christians in a pluralistic society? Do we need to take it down? Do we need to put every religion symbol up there? You know, what's going on here? How do we live as Christians in American society? So we go through that. It's a very, very powerful class, and kids will really walk away feeling like, okay, I'm not just a bigot. It's not just blind faith. There's good, strong reasons why the Bible is against homosexuality. Okay, let's move on to today's subject. We're going to talk about real quickly, fast as I can, intelligent design and the human genome. Okay, that's what we're going to be talking about here. Has there ever been a court case you disagreed with? Raise your hand if you've ever had a court case you disagreed with. Okay, lots of them. In 2005, the Dover, Pennsylvania School Board wanted to include mention of intelligent design in public school science classes. 11 people sued against the school board in federal court, and Judge Jones ruled against intelligent design. Sadly, his conclusion was that science is limited to the search for naturalistic explanations for all things. Any hint of supernatural causes or actions are not science and not allowable in the public schools under the separation of church and state. Students must be systematically shielded from mention of ideas which involve anything other than the materialistic. In one place, Judge Jones wrote, we find that while ID arguments may be true, ID is not science. This is an excellent movie if you've never watched it. Very, very powerful on a lot of what I'm going to be talking about right now. Fantastic movie. The study of patterns in nature that are best explained as a result of intelligence. This is what intelligent design is. Is intelligent design science? Now, the typical scientific method, or what somebody will qualify as science, although this isn't really factually true, but it'll do for now. Is it testable? Is it repeatable? Is it observable? Is it falsifiable? Yes. Let's go through this. Okay, I found a rock on the ground in the desert, carved by the wind and the rain, that looks like a dolphin. Now, I'm going to show you this rock. It's pretty awesome. There it is. Okay, now, I think you have a question on your sheet there. Raise your hand if you think I found this rock in the desert, carved by the wind and the rain, that looks like a dolphin. Raise your hand, raise your hand, nice and high. Okay, very trusting person there. Okay, awesome. Okay, most of you didn't raise your hands, that's good. Intelligent causation or natural causation. You all said to yourselves, there's no way you found that rock in the desert carved by the wind and the rain, except for, yeah, okay? It's okay, don't worry about it. Now, how do we tell the difference between intelligent causation and natural causation? See if you can figure out the two criteria to determine if something is naturally caused or caused by an intelligent mind, meaning either nature caused it or some intelligent mind caused it. Okay, there's two criteria. Raise your hand if you know one of the criteria. Look at the dolphin. How do you know that I didn't just find that rock out in the desert? You know it, but how do you know? Think about it. What are the two criteria? Raise your hand if you think you know one of the criteria. Yeah.
Recognizable pattern.
Very good. Okay, recognizable pattern is one of them. Anything else? Anybody else know? Okay, here they are. Ready? It's an unlikely natural object or event. Okay? It's unlikely in nature. Unlikely natural object or event. And it's a pattern that I recognize. When I look at that dolphin, how often do you see a rock with a little beak, it's got a little smile, it's got little eyes, a little fin? Never. Okay? And it's a pattern I immediately recognize. Hey, that's a dolphin. Look at that. Okay? Very clearly. This is how we recognize intelligent design. Now, we'll do some tests here. Ready? Cloud formation. Raise your hand if you think this was created by an intelligent mind. Raise your hand. This cloud formation. Okay. Okay, now God made everything, but okay, raise your hand if you think it was natural. Okay, a lot of hands here. Okay, now, here's a little graph for these two things. Okay, now if they're both low, it means it was natural. If they're both high, it means it's intelligence. Okay, is this an unlikely natural object or event? Not really. I mean, I see clouds that look kind of like things all the time. Maybe it looks like a bird there, right? Is it a pattern that I recognize? Not really. I mean, maybe generally, could be an airplane or something, but not really, okay? And so I give it two lows. This means natural causation. Let's look at another one. Cloud formation. Raise your hand if you think this was intelligently caused. Oh, you guys are smart. This is a smart group, man. That's amazing. Okay, let's look at the little graph again. Is it an unlikely natural object? Absolutely it is. I mean, you never see, you're driving around in the desert, right? Oh my gosh, look at that. There's a perfect heart. Is it a pattern that I recognize? Yeah, very much so, okay? Very much so. Two highs mean intelligent causation. Okay, let's look again here. Wristwatch in the sand. This is a hard one. Okay? Raise your hand if you think this was naturally caused. Nobody raise your hand, please. Okay. Okay. This is very high. It's very unlikely to find metal strapped to leather with little gears in the sand, you know. You don't just find these washed up on the beach all the time. Hey, look at there, I found another watch. Doesn't happen like that. Okay? So very high pattern. That's a very clear pattern that I recognize. Therefore, it is intelligent causation. Okay, are you seeing how the human mind gauges what is intelligently caused or naturally caused? This is a process we don't even think about. We do it all the time. We don't even think about this happening. Again, the dolphin rock we can see. Very unlikely, pattern that I recognize. What about this? Rocks. Raise your hand if you think this is naturally caused. Okay. Naturally caused. Why? Because it's not unlikely. I mean, you're out in nature with streams, or you see little rocks like this that have been washed along by a stream. It's not that uncommon, okay? And it's no pattern that I recognize. There's no order to it. There's nothing that looks like a pattern to me that I recognize, okay? So therefore, since they're both low, it's natural causation. Whoa, wait a second. What about this? Anybody been to Seaport Village and seen a guy who does this? Yeah, pretty amazing. Okay, now this is an interesting one. Is it an unlikely natural object or event? Raise your hand if you think it's an unlikely natural object. Yeah, it is not very often that you're just walking around out in nature and there are rocks balanced on top of each other, impossibly so. I don't even know how he does that. Okay, but he does it. Woo, through the roof. Okay, very unlikely. But is it a pattern I recognize? I would actually say no, it's not. I mean, there's no pattern there that I really recognize. And this is low. Now, what I want you to understand about this is that there's a correlation here. The higher this one is, even if this one's low, we still typically will attribute it to intelligent causation. Okay, and this is where sometimes we get confused. We're like, whoa, was that made by a person or was that not? You know, and sometimes the things where we feel like it's indeterminate are things where maybe there's a correlation like this. Okay. Slick rock. Is this an unlikely natural object or event? What do you think? Yes? I don't see this all the time. I've only seen it in a picture. I'd say it's pretty unlikely. Okay? But is it a pattern that I recognize? Not really, no. Okay, low. And now this one, you know, somebody might be unclear about it. They might think, yeah, I think somebody made that. Why? Because there's that weird correlation there. So there are areas where our minds get confused and we're not sure. Okay? But this is natural causation. Stonehenge. Is this an unlikely natural object or event? Raise your hand if you think this is unlikely. Yeah, I think it's only one place in the whole world. So yeah, that's pretty unlikely. Is it a pattern that I recognize? Kind of, sort of. You know, at one time they thought maybe they didn't know where it came from. They thought, is that natural or not? Okay? So I put it out as a medium. And this is where some people have gotten confused because people have said, I'm not sure. But it is intelligent causation. What about you're hiking out in the woods and all of a sudden there's an instruction manual on the ground? You go, whoa, millions of years, and look what the wind and the rain has made. You know, the dirt kind of flowed on there, made a letter, right? No. Okay, this is extremely unlikely that I'm going to attribute an instruction manual to natural causation. And it's very much a pattern that I recognize. Okay, so I'm going to call this intelligent causation. Now, this is very important, what I'm going to share with you right now. Make sure you kind of lock this down in your brain. The definition of information is data that has been manipulated or organized to convey knowledge. This is the definition of information, and this is a key point in the argument. Information is inherently unlikely and a pattern that I recognize. Information is never naturally caused. Nature never produces information because information is conveying or communicating something, okay? Therefore, only a mind can produce it. It's always from an intelligent cause. Here are examples of information. Morse code, okay? Smoke signals. This is information being conveyed. Organized letters. Binary code. Somebody tell me, does anybody know what binary code is? Yeah, computers, okay, right? It's a base language. Is there any other sources of information? I'm just thinking. Anybody have any other sources of information? DNA, there we go. Okay, that's you're ahead of the game here. This is binary code, zeros and ones. Binary code is what's used to make a computer run. DNA, also information, is on how to operate a person. Okay, that's me and my brother down in Mexico. And DNA is made up, it's real small on here, adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Okay? TAGCAAA. This is your actual DNA code right here. Okay, and that code tells your body how to make itself. Have you ever wondered why you have arms coming out of the side of your body instead of like out of your back? Right? Probably not, but still, why does my body know to put an arm here and not like coming out of my forehead? This is because of your DNA. It tells your body how to build itself. DNA is information. Okay, this is a very, very powerful case for God. If the code is not written properly, the computer or person will not operate properly. Bill Gates said DNA is like a computer program, only much more complex than any we have been able to devise. He has thousands of programmers, and yet he says the programming in DNA our programming cannot compare to the programming in DNA. Thousands of minds. How could this be attributed to chance? If DNA is information on how to build a person, and information only comes from a what? Intelligent mind, then this is scientific proof we were designed by, starts with a G? God, okay. Now, some people might say aliens, but that's only if they're trying to escape, the rules that God puts down, right? E.T. or whatever. Okay, so this is a very, very powerful argument. If you're able to articulate it, you can go a long way in proving to somebody that we are made by God. The first time I saw this argument, I got goosebumps all over me. I was like, whoa, that's pretty heavy. Now, we can apply the graph to DNA. Is it an unlikely natural object or event? Because it's information, it's extremely unlikely to happen naturally. In fact, it never does. And it's a very clear pattern that we recognize. This is why people like Francis Crick are able to map the human genome and look at all these things and say, this disease was caused by this, because of the fact that we can look at these patterns and recognize them. This is a strong evidence for God, intelligent causation. Now, intelligent design is the study of patterns in nature that are best explained as a result of intelligence. Is it science? It is testable, it is repeatable, it is observable, it is falsifiable. Yes. Here's some examples of intelligent design being used in science today. Forensic science. How is intelligent design used in forensic science? Raise your hand if you know. Yes?
It's used to determine whether death is from a natural cause or an intentional or intelligent cause.
Exactly. Okay, so a guy walks in and somebody has passed away, sadly. He has to figure out, did she fall and trip and hit her head and pass away naturally, or through something happening in her body, or did somebody have ill intentions towards her and a mind planned this death? Okay? To determine if a murder was from natural causes or intelligent causes. Science today is using intelligent design. How is intelligent design used in anthropology or archaeology? Raise your hand if you know. Anybody? This is the point in my classes where I have like starbursts and I throw them out like if anybody gives me an answer. But I don't have any starbursts, I'm sorry. Anybody know? Yeah.
To evaluate artifacts to see if they're natural or intelligent.
Exactly. How do I know this isn't just a rock? I have to figure out, was this made by a person or was it just a rock that the wind and the rain made? Okay, to determine if an item is a human artifact or just a rock. Is intelligent design science? Yes, absolutely. There are two choices for humans and all living things. We are either naturally caused by chance and evolution, or we are intelligently designed on purpose. Now, our Creator is intelligent. We aren't always intelligent. That's kind of crazy. It looks very clear that our DNA was written by a supremely intelligent designer. But before we conclude, is it even possible that we evolved? Okay, let's define evolution. Now I'm going to give you one more really powerful argument against evolution, okay? That you can give out pretty quick, and if you master it, it'll go a long ways in making somebody go, whoa, never thought about that. This is actually part of what I presented to the 30 atheists a couple weeks ago. The evolution is defined as the common descent of all life on Earth from a single ancestor by undirected mutation and natural selection. Okay? Evolutionists say we come from a single cell, eventually we became jellyfish, then we were lizards, then we were birds, then we were whales, and then we became Richard Dawkins. There we go. So we have to define these two terms. First, we have to define undirected mutations. We're not going to get to natural selection today, but we're going to define undirected mutations. Okay, here are some examples of undirected mutations. These are my favorite. I love these. Whenever I show these in class, the kids love them too. There's the first one. Man, if only mutations did that, I'd be all for it. Let's do it. Wings. There's another one. That's an undirected mutation. Okay, he was out in the field and he got hit by gamma rays, jacked up his genes, boom, huge muscles. Man, I wish that was true. That'd be so awesome. Another one, this girl can shoot lightning out of her hands. Why? Because of a mutation. Anybody know her name? Oh man, you guys are nerds. I can't believe that. Oh yeah, Mr. Cool himself. Okay, now this is interesting. His claws actually are not mutations. They're made out of adamantium. But he has a healing factor. That is his mutation, in case you wanted to know. Okay? I'm sure this is important. You can ask me questions about this afterwards. I know all about Wolverine. Okay. Undirected mutation, he can heal super fast. He gets hit with a bullet, just like, he's good to go. Hey, he walks away. Spider-Man, yeah. He got bit by a radioactive spider, jacked up his genes, and all of a sudden he can hang on walls. And if you're the Tobey Maguire one, you can shoot webs out of your arms. If you're the new one, not so much. Okay, so these are examples of undirected mutations. Is this reality? Because going from a single-celled organism to a human being is just like all of a sudden being able to stick to walls. Let me tell you, that is a bigger fantasy than these are. Is it real? This is what an undirected mutation is. A change in the genetic material resulting in new or rearranged hereditary determinants. Mutations are rare, random events in which the base sequence of the nucleic acid molecules change. I got this from Nova, not exactly a Christian organization. Let's make it a little easier. It's an accidental mistake in the programming code of a living organism. That's what an undirected mutation is. Remember I showed you the picture of the DNA earlier? That's like taking a new letter and just randomly throwing it in there. Bam! Just going to throw a whole bunch of letters in there. Undirected mutations, and all of a sudden, I'm the Hulk. Okay? Did undirected mutations combined with natural selection take us from jellyfish to humans? Or is this just fantasy like Spider-Man? Does science show that undirected mutations can lead to improved life? Evolutionists would tell you, yes, this can happen. Now I'm going to prove to you right now, scientifically, that this will never, ever happen. Okay, this guy is awesome. If you ever get a chance to read this book, it's short and it is so powerful. So powerful. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. It's right out here in the lobby. Buy it, read it, know it, save somebody. Okay, this guy, Dr. John Sanford, Cornell University professor for more than 25 years, PhD from the University of Wisconsin in plant breeding and plant genetics, conducted genetic research at the New York State Agricultural Experiment Station in Geneva, 70 scientific publications, 25 genetic patents. He created the biolistic gene gun and a bunch of other stuff. He was an atheist evolutionist. He studied science so long, he became a young earth creationist. That's what happens if you really study science and you look for the truth. No offense to anybody who's older. Okay. Evolutionists will tell you this. I know how. Okay, so here's a scenario. Let's say I know how to build a wagon, but I want to know how to build a space shuttle. I want instruction manuals on how to build a space shuttle. So watch this. I know how to build a wagon, but I want to build a space shuttle. So I go to an evolution, I ask him how to make an instruction manual to build a space shuttle. He says, that's easy. Just throw in letters randomly, read the new instructions, build wagons off the new instructions, get rid of the bad wagon, and eventually, after a real long time of repeating this process, you'll have a space shuttle. This is his advice on how to get me to start a space shuttle business. Okay, get a wagon manual, throw tons of letters into it, just change all the letters up, and eventually you will have a manual on how to build a space shuttle. This is what they're saying when you switch from a single-cell organism to a human being instruction-wise. Watch. Here are my abbreviated wagon instructions. Make sure you have all parts. Attach axles to red wagon. Attach wheels to axles. Attach handle to front axle. Ready? I'm going to throw letters in here randomly. Bam! Make sure you have all parts. Attach them. You know, I can still read it. You know what? They made it a little error there. No big deal. I can still read that. Throw it over. Attach axles to dead wagon. Whoa, dead wagon? Well, was it alive? What? Oh, I don't know. Whatever. Red wagon. I see what he means there. Okay. Attack wheels to axles. Attack them? How do I do that? Make sure you have. Whoa, I'm confused. Whoa, that's weird. Make sure you have all pates. Huh? Attack whales to axles. Whales? I need a whale now? What is that? There's no whale in here. What? Cage stray, you have all pates. Attack axles to dead wagon. Attack whales to axles. Attack handle to front axle. Attack whales, low axles. Attack whales, low axles. Attack handle to front axle. It was funny. Attack handle to front axle. Attack whales, low axles. Attack axles to dead wagon. Cage stray, you have all pates. What's happening here? Am I moving towards the space shuttle instructions? Pretty soon I'm going to be looking at my wagon and I'm going to be like, man, I have no idea what to do with this thing. My instructions are getting really bad. Attack axles to dead wagon. Cage stray, you haze all pates. Attach handle to front ale. Okay. Okay, now this is really funny to me. But anyway, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is in reality what evolution teaches. There are two key components to evolution. They are undirected mutations and natural selection. This is what's supposed to get us to the next level. The problem is that random mutations can't add useful information to the DNA. I'm going to get to your question in a second. The problem is that random mutations can't add useful information to the DNA. What I mean is, you can't take information, shove it into the DNA, and expect to get a good result. Now, you can take information out of the DNA and potentially get something. Okay? It's like taking my car alarm out of my car. I did that recently. Thing kept going off in the middle of the night. Went out there under the dashboard, ripped it out, and my car, to me, is better. Now, maybe to the guy who put the car together, he's like, what are you doing, man? I put that in there for you. That's how it's supposed to be built. But it's better to me now. Okay, now mutations do that. Okay? I know how to build a cell, but I want to build a human. So I go to an evolution, I ask him to make an instruction on how to build a human. He says, that's easy. Just throw a random mutation in the DNA of the cell. Read the new instructions, build cells off the new instructions, get rid of the bad cells, and eventually, after a real long time of repeating this process, you'll have a human. There it is. So we just keep throwing in random letters in here. And this does happen, lots, okay? We are mutating. But they don't make things better. In fact, they make them far, far worse. Isn't it remarkable that the primary axiom of biological evolution essentially claims that typographical errors plus some selective copying can transform a wagon into a spaceship in the absence of any intelligence, purpose, or design? Now, Dr. Sanders goes into real depth on this, okay, in his book, and it's awesome. He can answer every question you could possibly have. The guy is smart, to say the least. Now, equivocally beneficial mutations, which still have a downside, are extremely rare. 1 in 10,000. Unequivocally beneficial mutations are non-existent in nature. Now, anybody know what I'm saying here in this statement? Anybody summarize? What does that mean? Equivocally, unequivocally?
That mutations that you could make a case for possibly being an improvement happen 1 in 10,000 times, but ones that are definitely, without any question, an improvement don't exist.
That's exactly right. Okay, now Dr. Sanders, let me qualify this. Dr. Sanders says unequivocally beneficial mutations are 1 in 1 million. Okay? This author said they're non-existent. It's virtually the same, really. But here's the thing. Does anybody know can anybody give me an example? There's one that pops up all the time of an unequivocally beneficial mutation. Anybody give me an example? It's a very common one. Yeah.
Would it be antibiotics?
No, not antibiotics. It's in Africa. It's a mutation.
Sickle cell anemia.
That's right, sickle cell anemia. This comes up all the time if you bring this up with evolutionists. You say, hey, there's no good mutations. They say, oh, what about sickle cell anemia? Now, sickle cell anemia is where your cells are shaped like sickles. And what this does is it prevents malaria from being able to attach to the cell. But there's a problem with it because it also clogs your arteries. Okay, so you get something good that you're a little resistant to malaria, but you get something bad in that your arteries get clogged. If you look up online on Google Images, it's horrible. Your arms and stuff will get puffy, very big. It's not a good thing. This would be what is called an equivocally good mutation, meaning it has something good, but it also has something bad. Unequivocally good, where it's just pure goodness, they just don't exist. Okay, now, this is a problem. Now, somebody will say, this proves evolution. I say, this doesn't prove evolution. This is adaptation or natural selection. But this doesn't mean a lizard can change into a bird, okay? This doesn't mean a cow can change into a whale. This just means there was something that happened in your mutation, natural selection selected for you because you were resistant to malaria, you're able to pass on your genes. Okay, carriers are resistant to malaria. Now, here's what's really happening. Okay, this is by Dr. Sanford. Here's what's happening right now. Every generation is getting what are called point mutations. Each of you has mutations inside your body right now. You can officially call yourself a mutant. You're not an X-Men though, but you're a mutant. Okay, now, every person has, every generation has 100 to 300 what are called point mutations, meaning a letter has been inserted that is changing the code. 100 to 300 of these, okay? These are not good mutations. These are bad. Now, God is a genius, and he made the body able to resist mutations to a certain extent. But it's wearing on us. Our bodies are wearing out. My daughter, right here, very cute girl, has cystic fibrosis. She has a mutation, and it's a detrimental mutation. In 1983, the average age of a kid with cystic fibrosis was 2 years old, and he passed away. Now, thank the Lord, the medicine is doing incredibly well. It's very likely my daughter's going to live a full life expectancy. Thank God for intelligent design. Okay, but cystic fibrosis is caused by a random change of only 3 nucleotides in 3 billion. Now, you want to tell me that changing these mutations is a good thing when only 3 causes death? The lowest estimate of the genetic differences between our DNA and that of chimps is at least 50 million nucleotides. To think that we could get from that ape-like ancestor to where we are today, when there is a 50 million part difference, this is throwing in 50 million changes into the chimp DNA, and they say we'll get here. We would all be extinct already if this was the case. Because just 3 changes like this can cause death. How many would 100 cause? 200, 1,000, 1,000,000, 50 million. Are you kidding? By trial and error, you're going to get from that chimp ancestor to human beings without going extinct? Forget about it. There is no way that's going to happen. For every 1 slightly beneficial mutation, you have anywhere from 10,000 to 1,000,000 slightly detrimental mutations. Even if you have a good mutation, it's overwhelmed by the tidal wave of bad mutations. This is the problem evolution faces. Undirected mutation is the key component to drive Darwinian evolution. But undirected mutations will kill us before they advance us. Okay, when I was at the doctor with my daughter. We were at the geneticist when we first found out she had cystic fibrosis. And I was talking to the lady, the geneticist, and she said to me, she was telling us about it, she started talking about evolution. And I'm thinking, oh no, don't say that. And I said to her, hey, she was talking about how we all have mutations and they're a problem. And I said, what would happen if you had a person who had absolutely no genetic mutations? Would they be like superhuman? I was thinking of Adam and Eve. And she goes, that's an interesting question. I've never heard somebody say that before. She goes, I guess they would be. I said, oh, that's interesting. And I said, can you tell me any good mutations that you know of? Now, this is a geneticist. And she looks at me. She goes, I'm not sure. And I said, you don't know of any? She goes, well, I'm sure there are some. I mean, that's how we evolved, right? Right? Go back to Bob Siegel. People don't know what they mean, right? What do you mean? So the reality is this, folks. There's nothing here. Evolution just lost one of its legs. It's on one leg trying to stand up, and it's going to fall down. Random mutations not only fail to give us upward evolution, science proves they are actually slowly degrading the human genome. Population geneticists are now looking at this and going, we have a serious problem. This is an atheist geneticist. He says, it seems clear that for the past few centuries, harmful mutations have been accumulating. The decrease in viability from mutation accumulation is 1 to 2% per generation. I do regard mutation accumulation as a problem. It is something like the population bomb, but with a much longer fuse. He's saying we're getting worse. We're getting sicker. Our instruction manual's getting corrupted. It's getting harder to read. These guys, same thing, atheist geneticists. Deleterious mutations rate appears to be so high in humans and our close relatives that it is doubtful that such species could survive. Whoa. One more. Contamination of the genome by very slightly deleterious mutations. Why have we not died 100 times over? This guy's saying we should all be dead already. We should be gone. Why are we still here? Because evolutionists believe we've been around 50,000 to 100,000 years. If that was true, he's saying, we should have died 100 times over already because our code would be so corrupted that you wouldn't even be able to build a human anymore. It would be unreadable. Check this out. This is where it gets really awesome. This guy, Dr. Crow, again, who is not a Christian, he did a fitness curve, and he measured the rate at which the human genome is falling apart. And this is the conclusion he came to. He came to this conclusion, a 1% decline in fitness per generation, which they say is 20 years, is shown for a hypothetical human population over a period of 300 generations. 6,000 years. If you take Adam and Eve literally, how old does the Bible say that the earth is? 6,000 years. Whoa. Man, that book could be divinely inspired. This type of progressive loss of fitness would clearly lead to dramatic degeneration of the human race within a historical time frame. This is an atheistic scientist saying this. We couldn't have survived for more than 6,000 years at the rate at which our genome is contaminating and is contaminated. Ooh, this is stellar. Memorize it, write it down, save somebody. This is the actual genealogical time frames in the Bible. If you lay them out, some of you have probably seen this before. It's pretty awesome. Adam lived 930 years. After 130, he had Seth. Seth lived 912 years. Enos, 905. Keeps going, but notice what's happening. Whoa, weird. What the? Why is it getting so short? Dr. Sanders calculated a fitness curve from Noah forward. He said the curve fits the data very well, having a correlation coefficient of 0.9. It seems highly unlikely this biblical data could have been fabricated. This curve is very consistent with the concept of genomic degeneration caused by mutation accumulation. He's saying science lines up perfectly with the Bible. This is stunning. Fantastic. So we're slowly going extinct. Why is this happening? What do we do? We are losing. Our bodies are losing. The Bible is correct. Genesis 2:17, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. He wasn't lying. Romans 8:21-22, the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. All of creation is groaning. When Adam sinned, the earth suffered too. What came from the ground? Thorns and thistles. Everything started to degenerate. Not just humans. Everything. All of creation has been groaning. Romans 5:12. Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, Adam, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people because all sinned. One out of every one people dies. That's an amazing statistic. Romans 5:18-19. Consequently, just as one trespass resulted in condemnation for all people, so also one righteous act resulted in justification and life for all people. For just as through the disobedience of the one man the many were made sinners, so also through the obedience of the one man the many will be made righteous. That's the solution to our problem, the only solution. All of creation is winding down. Did you know the Earth, its rotation is actually slowing down? They're tracking the leap seconds. Each year is getting longer. The sun is cooling off. The planets are cooling off. The moon is moving away from the Earth. Everything is slowly winding down. It's the second law of thermodynamics, enacted at Adam's sin. The Bible is true. The Bible is correct. Use this evidence to save somebody. I got to present this before 30 atheists, and they were like, whoa, you've never heard this before. They rated a young earth Christian creationist coming to speak to them. They rated it on their meetup thing. 4 out of 5 stars. We should do this again. What? These are atheists. What's going on? This is weird. Why do you like me? The reality is people need hope. They need God. They need salvation. We need people to share the truth. And check this out. Here's what's really cool. I'm now talking to another one of the atheists that I got to present to. He's been emailing me. He wants to have a discussion, again, between 40 atheists. I don't know how this is going to work, but between 40 atheists and 40 Christians. And he can't believe that I want to do this with him. So these opportunities are increasing. This kind of stuff is increasing. I've had lots of kids be able to share stuff. In a half an hour, share the gospel and see some. I have videos of a Muslim woman going, I do believe in Jesus. And the girl that's interviewing her is going, what? And she goes, I think what you're saying is true. And she's like, oh, okay. Jesus said the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And so get one good argument, get better at it, and then use it. God is going to bless it. He blesses and honors our faithfulness. He's strong in our weakness. I really encourage you guys to take that step of faith and start to do that if you aren't already. Again, these are the classes that I'm teaching in September. Starts September 9th is the first class. If you know any kids that are interested in it, I'd love to have them in the class. So thank you very much for allowing me to share that with you. Please welcome Jason Payne. He's the manager of the museum.